I just realized I don't know when this starts. It is Monday, February 20th, 2023. My name is Travis, and this is the Time Award winning Yolo Braintrust podcast. We're broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Erie Canal in the heartland of America, Buffalo, New York. I'd like to introduce my guest today. Are you there? Let's start with you, Shaw. Say hi, Shaw.
Hey, it's Shaw. I love the Erie Canal so much. I love Buffalo, New York so much. I wouldn't know what I would be doing if I wasn't in Buffalo, New York at this very moment. And I'm having dinner right now. So I'm excited to be here. Excited to show off my amazing skills, and I'm excited to drink my soda while we're doing this pod.
Bobby, are you here?
I am here, and I can tell you, if you couldn't already tell, I am the only one that knows anything about Buffalo, New York. Shaw, you gave yourself away. I don't know if that was intentional or not when you said drinking your soda, you little cuck.
What do you guys call it? Pop?
Pop.
I think that's a cultural difference there. I don't think that's a real aerial difference there.
That's an aerial difference, my guy.
No. Okay. If we're gonna start talking about colloquialisms in our vernacular, that's how we get it started.
Real quick, before we get any further, is my mic, is it clipping at all? It seems to suggest it might be.
Nah, it's not clipping.
No, okay.
Sounds good.
Nah, man.
Good. So I, on YouTube, I set up like a upcoming a stream alert. You know, it's like scheduled, upcoming at 6:15 p.m. Episode 4, Precedents Day, and I don't know how I cancel that because that apparently it does not start to that same video.
Huh.
So if there's anyone waiting on that one, which we've got one waiting, sorry, sucks to suck.
Hey, whoever that one guy is, tell him we love him. Tell him to come to Twitch.
That's right. Shit, I don't even know if I can take this down at this point. Holy shit. I think it's just stuck here, as it were. Let's see, we can edit it.
I mean, is it re-streaming though? Like, is there something going on? Yeah, I mean, there's something live.
Yeah, no. So I'm gonna have to manually. It's kind of a little annoying, but
Do it later, dog. Who cares?
Well, no, this is for the current stream. I have to add the thumbnail. I have to add the tags if anyone ever wants to know what the nuts and bolts look like. I have to do all this stuff so that way it actually shows up. I think the last one ended up showing as private. So you know, it's a little interesting. Let's see here.
I like the description. Restream helps you multi-stream and reach your audience wherever they are.
Oh, is that what it says?
Yeah, that's what the description says right now.
Oh no. Shit.
Whatever. We could go clicky later. I mean, we already started.
No, well, yeah, I'm just doing this in the background. So, any of you guys want to start us off on anything here while I'm getting everything else set up?
Well, I just think it's stupid they call soda pop. It is soda, soft drink.
Soda pop. Soda pop. Because the bubbles go pop pop.
So you ever feel like a fake Buffalonian?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. It's like imposter syndrome, because like I'm from like the better part of the state. Let's be real. South New York is so much better, or as I like to call it, the real New York.
South New York. First of all, upstate is the real New York. That's the real New York, all right? You coastal elites, all right? You liberal elites.
Liberal.
Down there in your little walled garden there. You have no idea of how the real world functions up here, right?
I think you fail to realize that we are the real world. I mean, some of the biggest financial centers in America are based in
Some
southern New
of,
York.
but
Well,
not,
in the
not all.
world.
Did you know that? Did you know that over 90% of Americans don't live in New York City?
Okay.
Yeah. So how are you the real New York if you don't even have? 90%?
That is definitely not true, because there's at least 9 million people in the New York metro, and there are
Well,
300 million people in America, so it's at
That's
least...
not true.
Oh, no, wait, that's only 3%. Not, I was thinking 30% for some reason. Sorry, folks,
Yeah,
my
you
math's
fucking
not
idiot.
very great.
yeah.
All right, let's see if everything updated here. We're gonna see if everything updated.
Oh.
At best, there's 6% of people live in New York, like that area.
Yeah, that's really big.
But that means that 94% don't. So how can you say you're the real America?
Because everything goes on over here. I mean, they shoot the movies. All the
They
movies
do
get
they?
shot
Do they?
here.
Have you heard of a little town
no.
called Hollywood?
Oh, but that's in the media zone. That's a special type of area because of all the tax breaks that they get.
Yeah, and have you heard of all the tax breaks that Buffalo gives? I mean, we had a lot of movies shot in Buffalo.
I
We
mean,
got
Georgia and like give much better tax breaks. I've
we
been hearing a lot.
got we got Nightmare Alley was shot in Buffalo. A Quiet Place 2 was shot in Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got movies that were shot here.
All right. Who cares? First of all, I mean, think about the
I
biggest
mean, you do because you're
prime
the one that's
time.
bringing up.
Look
You're
at
bringing up the movies.
The biggest prime time television shows are based in New York City. I mean, White Collar.
Some of the
Wow.
greatest to ever
Who's
do
heard
it.
of
What's that other one?
Seinfeld.
What's that?
Seinfeld
Seinfeld.
was based there.
How I Met Your Mother. Friends. You know, these shows are all based in New York City.
Who
I
even
mean,
heard of them?
a majority of the mainstream population.
Yeah, more like lamestream, alright? That's that propaganda, your
That's
liberal
that
elite propaganda.
liberal elite propaganda coming from the biggest libtard I know.
Oh yeah, I'm the biggest libtard you know, and not
Yeah.
not Travis over here. I feel like Travis is a bigger
You-
libtard.
He thinks I'm a centrist.
Yeah, Travis is a centrist.
Which
And
makes him a
I'll take it.
libtard, because liberalism is centrism nowadays.
No.
Like it
No,
or not.
no.
Centrism is when
Uh.
you're right wing, but you just don't want to say it. So why don't you,
Uh-oh. We're gonna have to
what?
cut that part out of the stream.
Why?
Travis, are you
No,
telling us
I'm fucking
something?
with you.
That you coming
Are you-
out as
Are you
as
coming out?
racist?
Well, if it gets us more viewers here, not racist, but I'll be right wing. I can let me show you guys something. Hey, if you're watching this and you're wondering, is this a guy I can trust? Oh, it's been a while since I've done it, but I'll tell you something here. Oh bloody hell! I'm a man you can trust. Too far in the woke culture, have things moved further left? All I'm saying is that we need someone out there who's gonna bloody defend men's rights. We need someone
Yeah.
out there who's a classical liberal like me. So what do you say? Why don't you bloody trust me?
Well, he did. That's why his book is like the New York Times bestseller.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna say something real quick. I think Jordan Peterson's book probably genuinely was a New York Times bestseller, like in terms of like organic sales. But a lot of times, what they do is they'll
buy 100,000 copies, stick them in a
Yeah.
warehouse, and now you're on New York Times bestseller. Yeah.
right. This is what they all do.
I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off. Sorry.
No. I mean, you're right.
Yeah. I just thought I've heard it so many times from so many people. I'm like, yeah, like I know, but like there are some books like The Fault in Our Stars, that tween book. I'm like, all right, no one was fucking reading that. All right, no
Yeah.
one read that book.
They made a
Fault-
movie. They made a
Yeah, they-
very famous
Oh
movie.
no, I mean girls. Sorry, I just kind of like just passed over that. Yeah, no, girls my age when The Fault in Our
Yeah,
Stars
people
came out,
went
like
gaga.
every girl
People
was
went
reading it.
cuckoo for that. I mean, that made John Green like all of his money.
Yeah. Which, you know, I mean, I like him for other reasons. Crash Course,
No, you know what?
pretty
you know
cool.
what book? You know what book? I don't think anybody's read, but everyone keeps talking about it. I don't think anyone's read. I think it's a big lie, a big propaganda.
Uh-huh.
It's not really, a bestseller. I don't think at all. And that's the Holy Bible.
That's true. Not enough people are saying this. It's concerning.
All right.
Tell me, who is Rachel? I bet neither of you can name him.
Yeah.
Concerning.
I don't know.
Of course you don't. Because you know what? Muhammad never read the Bible. He just came up with the Quran. He was guessing.
He didn't come up with it. He transcribed it.
It was revealed to him from God. Yeah.
Well, God forgot how the Bible goes too then. So, you know, it just goes to show not enough people are reading the book.
The Bible
God
was
how
written
the Bible
after Jesus
goes,
died.
too.
The Bible was written by Jesus' disciples.
It doesn't matter. Apparently God forgot how it went when he talked to Muhammad.
Then the disciples wrote it, and then they're like, well, no, this isn't the right version of it. I want to do the better one, and then they did the King James one.
The Bible, more like the Bible, am I right?
Yeah, the Bible. Yeah, the Bible. They kept changing it up over what translation, and then you have the Quran, where it's the same Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't change the Arabic.
Yeah, I mean that's something that you really got to respect though, is that they've stuck with Arabic the entire time. Like, so does someone have to read you the Quran, or do you know enough Arabic to be able to read it?
Oh no, I know enough Arabic to be able to read it. I've read the whole book like twice.
So you can read it yourself?
How have you read it? If you don't know.
In Arabic. I read it in Arabic.
But you said you don't know enough Arabic to read it.
No, I do know enough Arabic to read it.
Oh.
I've read it because I learned enough Arabic to read it.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I read it, but I didn't really. Well, I like read it, but like I didn't really know the translation, so I was just kind of like going off, and I never really read the English part of it. So I didn't. Yeah.
So
I don't claim to be the most the most Islamic knowledge scholar out here. No, I've read it, but I didn't really understand what I was reading.
I mean, the Bible was actually kind of similar, or Catholicism was pretty similar up until recently. If I remember correctly, I'm just saying words. If you were Catholic, you weren't allowed to, even though the Bible existed in other languages, you weren't allowed to read it in anything but Latin. And therefore, like, when they would present it at Mass, the guy would be speaking in Latin. They changed that in, like, in the 1940s, 1950s, something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
And then they brought it back under Benedict II, and then they got rid of it again.
I mean, the way we do it is the guy like reads the Arabic part of it and then gives you the English translation. That's about it. So like it's still both, you know what I mean?
So is he translating it on his own? Like he's just reading it and then he's trying to do like a direct translation?
No, I mean they have the translations in front of them. It's not like the guy is. I don't know 100% how exactly they do it during the sermons. Like the guy may know enough of each thing to just recite it off the top of his head and translate it. It's all dependent on the person who's given the sermon at the end of the day.
Yeah, but, so excuse me if this sounds ignorant, because this is just like this is the way I interpret it in my brain, and it's because I don't know any better. So I hope this doesn't come off as like bigoted. I didn't know if it was like the same way it is with like Muhammad, how you can't like draw Muhammad and therefore you couldn't like put pen to paper and do like another language translation of the Quran. You see what I'm saying?
Oh no, you can. It's just
okay.
Like it's pretty known in the community. Like yeah, like but if you're reading it, you're reciting it, you're doing anything on it, it has to be in the Arabic because that's the original form it came in, and that's what it is. When you translate it over, it becomes something different.
Yeah,
because
and there's
no language can emulate another language in a perfect sense.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they did with the King James version. Is they took whatever helped them best in the Latin and Greek versions of the Bible, because translations aren't exact, and so you can extract different meanings things come across different, so on and so forth.
Yeah, even different English translations of it have different wording and phrasing. Like you could tell that they're trying to say the same thing, but it's not exact. Like no one translating it has an exact match. So that's why it's like, yeah, you're writing a paper on it, you're giving someone a thing about it. You'll say it in Arabic the first time, then you'll translate it into English. And
Yeah.
then some of them go even further, and then they'll translate it like word by word from Arabic to English, and then explain it. And I'm like, oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nice, man. Like these people, they got something going for them.
So would it be a sin for you to purchase and own an English language Quran?
No.
No.
I don't
Okay.
know why that would be a sin. Yeah, it'd be a translation of the Quran. It wouldn't be the Quran.
Yeah. Okay. I think I understand now. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Now we're just gonna sit here in awkward silence until Bobby comes up with the next topic.
No, I'm looking something up right now.
He's Chad. He's looking something up right now.
I'm looking
Chat.
some-
Yeah, Jamie, put it up.
Jamie, pull it up.
Jamie, pull it up. So I figured this is a good platform to
Oh,
talk
is it?
about this. What?
Go ahead.
Okay. I wasn't sure he's up there. I don't know if I'm doing something I shouldn't do. So for all the folks at home who may be watching this 2 years in the future, maybe even now, who knows? I something happened in my family recently. And as a result, I was kind of interested in seeing, where our family came from. We've been in America for a long, long time. And, when you trace your family back, because of how, a lot of cultures across the world, but specifically European ones work, your patrilineal line tends to be the most important because that's where you get like your surname. Typically, culture and tradition and stuff follows them, so on and so forth. Well, my dad had apparently been holding on to this for a long time, and I think he'd mentioned it before. No, I know he mentioned it before, but I wasn't, very familiar with it. We get to this one ancestor where they just seem to appear out of nowhere about 200 years ago. We can't figure out any trace of them. If you take it from what other people have interpreted as meaning he married his first cousin. Well, that's not actually true. My dad did a DNA check with someone who would also share the same Y DNA as a member of both of these lines of the same family, and found that they don't match. And so it's like, okay, what's going on there? Maybe it's just a different line of the same last name. Well, we trace it. It doesn't make any sense. There's no birth record. The people who were portended to be his parents aren't actually his parents. He doesn't even show up in any of the census data. Although back then they only counted people in a household. They didn't actually include their names. And so my dad and I talk about it, and we're like, well, maybe he was adopted, or his parents died and he was orphaned or something like that. And so he does DNA, and we recently found out that that's the case. Although we don't know what the last name is yet. I mean, it's pretty interesting stuff, because
Tracing family lineage is always interesting. I'll give it that. But the thing you don't want to fall into is giving these big corporations your genetic data, and then they're able to track that, and then they're able to track other people with that same genetic data, and then now your DNA profile is in a large database where it said, oh, they'll sell you this cool service. Well, yeah, they'll tell you X amount of X where you're from and this, that, the next, and now they have your whole DNA profile ready for replication and sending it to Mars like in Interstellar.
Shaw?
Yeah.
I hate to break this to you, but it's too late. If somebody so much as your third cousin has signed up for one of those services, your DNA is already in that service.
Not my exact. Can't be my exact DNA.
Enough,
You know?
enough of a match of your DNA to convict you of a crime.
Yeah, that's how the I think the serial killer from California who ended up being a cop.
Yep.
I
Yep.
think that's how they got him. I
Yep.
think it may have been exactly a third cousin too.
Yep.
A third
ins-
cousin used
Yes.
it, and then they.
If at least a third cousin, if obviously it's better if they're more related, like a father will definitely get you. But if somebody's a third cousin to you, and they submit their DNA to one of those sites, pretty much all of those sites have agreements with law enforcement that they'll just give all of the DNA to law enforcement to put on these, basically, put on the lists.
A giant database and a list. They have a giant
database
list.
and list. Yep.
A
So then
million.
all of a sudden, boom, it's done. It's over for you.
Now,
This is
I
not
think
a conspiracy theory. This is literal fact.
Yeah, that's just how it works. I think there is a bit of a caveat to it though. There's different kinds of DNA, right? There's Y DNA, which follows father to son, into infinity. And then there's mitochondrial DNA, which everyone has, whereas Y DNA, if you don't have a Y chromosome, you're not gonna have Y DNA. Whereas mitochondrial DNA, everyone has it, right? And that follows your maternal line, matrilineal line. And I think autosomal's the third one, and it captures a little bit of everything, but it doesn't go back as far. Now, take something like... Well, hold on, I'm going somewhere. With Y-DNA, I don't think it holds that same level of weight. And I think the reason for that, and I could be wrong, is because without mutations, everyone who's the descendant of the same guy, let's say, 400 years ago, is going to have the same DNA. And as each generation has like its own doubling time, especially if you're having, say, like 2 kids. And so you can end up with an ancestor from, let's say, 550 years ago, 16 generations, that's 65,000 potential descendants, maybe more, maybe less. In fact, probably a lot more than that. Given or barring, a couple mutations, but for the most part, I think it's a lot more generic and a lot harder to place anything on someone using that, although I could be wrong.
I mean, yeah, there has to be certain things. Let's say a crime was committed in fucking, bumfuck Colorado, and then it matches the DNA of some dude who's been living in Brooklyn his entire life. It's probably not going to be a thing where like, oh yeah, he might have done it, and then they could even do that, and they go question the guy. Oh, he literally hasn't left Brooklyn since 1997 when he went to Staten Island one time.
Yo, I'm from Brooklyn. I go everywhere comfortably.
And then he's guilty just immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think there was a story one time actually where like there was a factory that made swabs. I forget where I heard from at this point. There was a factory that made the swabs that they would take DNA samples with, and every sample of DNA they would take, there would be this one person's DNA on it. It was like the same DNA of the same person. So eventually, that one person got implicated in like hundreds of crimes that they started doing the DNA swabs on. And then they finally figured out whose DNA it was when they traced it back to the factory of the people who made the swabs, and like some fucking woman was like licking the tips of them to make them look sharper before they went in the plastic packaging to be sent out to the consumer. Yeah. And then they figured out like, oh, this person that we thought committed like hundreds of crimes was actually just some fucking babushka in the factory that didn't know any better and was licking stuff to make it look cleaner.
I think, you know what I think the appropriate punishment for that is? They should convict her of all the crimes that she was DNA.
Yeah, it's her fault all those crimes didn't get solved.
Yeah, I mean,
if you really think about
it, that's a level of stupidity that she should be in prison for the rest of her life.
But I mean, DNA is genetic code that's linked directly to you. I mean, you could have 2 DNA samples, no, on one swab.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if she had that DNA there, like, like you think, oh, what's gonna happen if I lick this DNA swab? Well, then you're gonna get implicated in DNA, so you got to be careful.
Well, maybe she didn't know that it was a DNA swab. You ever think about that, buddy?
Well, she probably shouldn't be licking the swabs anyway.
Yeah, she shouldn't have been
I mean,
doing that,
she
but
should-
she did
Yeah.
it.
So that's her punishment. You know.
Wow,
Well,
look
why
at
should
Shaw
Convict her
being
of
like
crimes.
so pro
Why should-
workers' rights, by the way.
Why shouldn't I lick swabs? Because you're gonna get arrested and sentenced to prison for eternity. You know. Just saying.
That's
I'm
just-
just saying.
that's
I'm just saying. You know.
That's
It's food
just
for thought.
anti-freedom.
It's food for thought. All right. No, she has the freedom to lick the
I
swabs.
was just gonna
You
say
just-
yes.
She just has to face the consequences. You know.
Yeah, I'm a big freedom guy, but,
But-
not freedom from the consequences.
Bobby, let me challenge that point for a moment, if you.
All right, challenge it.
Have you ever heard of the term, and it's called freedom from consequence?
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. So why say that were me, and I did that? Why?
Was it you?
Why? No, but why? Why don't I have the freedom from consequence if everything's about freedom?
You know, because there's a cause and there's an effect about everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day, there is no law but the laws of physics, right? Like,
Right.
like I'm not gonna sit here and say that you have the freedom to jump off of the top of a 20-story building.
Yeah.
You have the freedom to do that. But if you think that you should be allowed to live, then that's a different thing, because no man, you know, I mean, I guess technically you can have a, you know, if you have a like a trampoline at the bottom, but then you're you know, forcing somebody to put a trampoline there. But like, just you independent all by yourself, if you jump from a 20-story building with no preparation, you're gonna die. And
That's very interesting.
That's physics for you. The laws of nature, you know.
Well, I mean, a squared plus b squared will also always equal c squared, and that's not a law of physics.
That's correct. Well, I mean, to a
uh,
certain extent, it is a law of physics.
Physics of what?
Geometry is a physic.
All right, that's one of the stupidest statements I've heard. Geometry is a physic. Let's look that up. Let's pull it up, Jamie.
Geometry is a physic.
There's geometry of physics.
Okay,
what the
it
hell is
belongs
this
to
guy talking about?
mathematics. So geometry, you know, it is empirical science.
So the
Right.
only, so what you're trying to say is the only end all be all is math, and physics
In
is
physics.
largely just math, math of velocity and math of movement.
I mean, at the end of the day, 1 + 1 = 2, right? And if you say, you know,
You know, humans beat gravity like a really long time ago.
what do you mean?
I mean, they beat gravity.
What do you mean?
They're able to defy it. They're able to like get in their planes and stick the jet fuel in it, and they're able to go up. And it's gravity that's pushing them down, and the force of their uplift is stronger than the force of gravity. So they beat it.
I mean, that's one way of looking at it.
And I mean, there's so
I
many
don't
levels to
necessarily
gravity.
I don't necessarily say you've beaten gravity at that point, right?
You ever?
Gravity still exists. Gravity's still there, right?
There
It's
comes
just,
a
it's just in
point.
remission. It's like, you know, if your cancer goes into remission,
Yeah.
is that beating cancer? Some will say yes, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But the question becomes, you know, is it beating cancer? You still have the cancer. It's just not, you know, actively killing you. And so same with the planes, there's still the gravity. The gravity still exists.
So
It's just not actively bringing you down.
So- computers are just ones and zeros. I mean, it's just math and electricity to run that
Correct.
math. And the way computers work is, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm very novel in the computer field. You get to a point where the computer can only handle a number so big to a point where there gets a number that even the computer can't handle anymore.
Mhm.
And that's kind of like gravity, and gravity can only be a number so big to where eventually it just resets back to where it was in the beginning because it can't handle a number that big. So that's kind of what's happening when the plane goes in the sky.
I disagree. I don't think that that's the case at all.
So it's kind of like if the computer can't handle that,
wrong.
if the computer can't handle that big number, it goes back down to 1 or 0.
Yeah, I don't think that's what's happening at all.
So then
I think you've got it completely wrong.
And when the plane's going in the sky, right? It's like resetting that number back to 0, and even maybe to a negative.
I don't think
because now you're pushing it up with the amount of force you're putting into it.
I think that's wrong.
So gravity may actually owe you money when you're beaten.
I think you're completely off base in this one.
Well, I'm just the guy, so I mean, you tell me.
I mean, I'm telling you, you're wrong.
Okay, explain how I'm wrong.
Well, you keep saying that the gravity at a certain point will reset. Well, that's not the case because we have like black holes, right? You can keep getting more and more and more and more gravity, and then eventually you get to a black hole. And it's not like a black hole has no gravity. Black hole has immense gravity, right? So it never resets. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger for gravity. And you say, okay, well that's not necessarily what you're talking about, which is true, but you completely misrepresented what you're trying to talk about. What you're saying is there's a set amount of gravity on Earth, right? There's you know,
like a computer, there's a set amount. There's a set amount of numbers.
No, that's not true. There's 9.8 meters per second squared of gravity on Earth at, you know, generally. I'm not going to say at all times and at all places because that's not true, but generally speaking, G for Earth is 9.81 meters per second squared. So that is the number. So basically it's like it's like a game of rock, paper, scissors, right? It's a game of rock, paper, scissors. And generally humans, you know, let's say Earth's gravity is rock. Generally humans are scissors, right? Because we can't beat it. But a plane
are sisters of the scissor.
A plane is paper, and paper beats rock. And so the rock still exists, it's just under the paper, right? And so the plane goes over the rock of the Earth, right? So it's not like the number reset. The number's still there. It's just that the you know, the uplift is greater than 9.81 meters per second squared.
He has a master's in aerospace engineering, and he just compared gravity to fucking rocks.
Well, I'm trying to keep it simple for your primitive little mind.
My primitive little mind?
Yeah, your little. I think that, you know, computers are just ones and zeros. They're more than that. All right. Computers are people too.
We haven't even hit quantum computing. So I mean, we have.
I was gonna say I thought that was a thing.
Yeah, we've had. It's just not. Not
in this conversation.
Yeah. So computers right now, to what's available to the public, can only handle zeros and ones. We've probably gotten to octum computing. The CIA has it. They're just not going to release it yet. The CIA has everything. And they know before you do.
What do they know before me?
Everything.
Like they had the internet. The new Northrop Grumman bomber that they just revealed, they probably had that technology 75 years ago. And now they're finally releasing it to make it look like, oh, we're the big bad guys, America. Yeah, woohoo. This is the greatest technology we have.
Wait, they had what technology 75 years ago?
Stealth bombers.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So, and then they'll show it off like, oh, yeah, this is the best and the brightest. The United States made this. And then you'll be like, oh, yeah, that's just the publicity stunt. The real stuff is behind closed doors. It's in Area 51. It's where you can't see it. It's where they have electromagnetic barriers that literally destroy all electronics that pass that field because of their electromagnetic pulses. And I think that's what most people don't understand. The CIA knew about this podcast before it was even in your head. I mean, think about Inception. You know how much backlash Inception got for coming out? Because the CIA has that technology.
I just heard the backlash that it was just confusing and hard to...
That's the thing. The CIA knows that it's confusing and hard to understand.
Oh, shit.
The CIA knows that. They tried to stop it from coming out. But whoever directed it, I forget his name now.
Christopher
He
Nolan.
released Christopher Nolan. Yeah, he got it out there, and then he made that technology open to public. So now people have an idea of what the CIA can do when it gets access to your dreams. And I mean, I'm not sure what the CIA could have already gotten to me, and I wouldn't even know it yet. That's how good they are.
That's why you're on the hustle grind set. It's because the CIA's planning to get in your brain for your own
Oh,
benefit.
I don't know about that. No, I don't know.
You're just independently a hustling man?
Fuck, you're right. The CIA must have done that to me. Damn. Everything I know is a lie.
My name's Andrew Tate. And I'm actually a member of the CIA. I don't know what that was. That wasn't very good, was it?
It was the Matrix. The Matrix knows and the Matrix understands. The Matrix has a hold over you. And
The
it's your job to
Matrix.
break out of the Matrix.
The Matrix
Look at sons,
is...
daughters, mothers, brothers. They're all in debt. They all have kids. They don't have moms. They don't have parents. They don't have this. They don't have that. And next thing you know, what are they? They're debt slaves. They're slaves to society. They're slaves to the community. They're forced to work. They're forced to pay taxes. So you break out of that cycle. You get out of the Matrix soul. You're able to do whatever the hell you want. And that's what he's trying to teach us.
So I don't understand how anyone like hears him say all that and like their response is, "Oh, I need to be like the best at like doing my job in the system," instead of saying, "Wow, this system kind of sucks." You know what I'm saying?
Well, the system's set up by people you have no control over. So the only way to get control over that system is to become so powerful that you're able to bend the system a little bit.
Well, historically, we know that's not the case. I mean, look at like the late 1800s, early 1900s with like the labor movements and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah,
it took a
that's
lot
when-
of people
that's when-
getting together, but
Well, that's the point. A lot of little people getting together is close enough to one man being big, you know? And that's the whole point. Money controls everything. Those labor unions, they didn't get together because they had no money. I mean, well, they kind of did get together because they have no money, but they couldn't impart change onto the system without their power coming together. So that's the whole point. Power can come from many different ways.
Yeah.
He
but
just
it
tells your
doesn't
power
need
should come from money.
But like
Because-
let's say you save $1 million. That's gonna be nothing to Jeff Bezos's like 100-something billion, you know. And he'll always be able to outspend you. He'll always be able to run a better PR campaign than you. And
But
at the end of the
that's
day,
the
you
thing.
still, line his pockets. Even if you have that much money and you live outside of like the day-to-day working, you're still gonna like invest, for example, and then you're going to be investing in these companies that are owned by these people who are continually going to work against your own interests. You see what I'm saying?
The thing is, if you're able to make $1 million, you're able to make two. If you're able to make two, you're able to make four. You're able to make four, you're able to make 8. Money exponentially increases. You got to get to a point where you make your money exponentially increase. And then the more it increases, the more you have. The more you have, the more power you got.
Well, I know a really good way to do that. If you cause... Turkey's a good example. If you go to Turkey, they have like hyperinflation. And because of the hyperinflation, your money is always increasing. You know, the money is always worth more. And it keeps going up, baby.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
money is
So you
increasing exponentially.
Yeah, you just have trillions of dollars coming
Trillions
in. Yeah.
of dollars.
Trillions of Turkish dinars, whatever it is.
No, that's Iraq, but same story. Turkish lira, in this case. And there was the Zimbabwe one from like 10, 15 years ago, too.
Isn't the lira? What's the other one that's hyperinflating right now? There's another African country. Is it Congo? Is it the Congo?
I don't know. I just know about Turkey right now has hyperinflation. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still like Zimbabwe or something, but it could be the Congo too.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but I remember there were like a bunch of countries in Africa that were just like going through hyperinflation. You can say America went through hyperinflation. I mean, they printed 40% of their entire money in 2 years. I think
Yeah, that was a really bad move. I mean, I think what annoys me about it.
is that I went to corporations and not the little man.
Well, that too, but that's not even the thing that really annoys me. Is 2 years ago or 3 years ago now at this point. I saw that coming. I knew, like, as it was happening, I said this is gonna screw us over. The economy's gonna collapse. This is exactly what we did. You know, why are they doing this? This bailouts are not gonna work. This is just a really dumb idea. And I saw it happening. I saw it happening as it was happening. And at the time, you look on these, Wall Street bets, right? Wall Street bets is a real good, terrible investment advice, but kind of they got their pulse on that's the people's investment thing, right?
Right.
And Wall Street bets was talking about Jerome Powell, Jerome Powell, head of the Federal Reserve. Jerome Powell is printing money. Oh, it's so great. Jerome Powell is fixing the economy. Oh, it's so great. Jerome Powell is so great.
Wait, they were
blah, blah, blah.
pro it at the time?
They were pro Jerome Powell. I remember it. I'm thinking, you
Yeah.
guys are idiots. Because Jerome Powell's just going to screw the economy up with printing all this money. Like, why are
Yeah.
you so happy with Jerome Powell right now? The whole thing, oh, Jerome Powell is so great. Jerome Powell, Jerome Powell, Jerome Powell. And then, guess what happens? 2 years later, the economy goes to shit. Because Jerome Powell just printed too much money. Now, all of a sudden, there's hyperinflation. Because it didn't work. The bailouts didn't work. They never do. And, everything kind of went to shit. And then, guess what? People are all bitching about Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell, he's fucking up with inflation. It's like, well, you didn't see this coming? You couldn't look ahead like 2 years? And then what happens? What happens that really pisses me off? You know what happens?
Yeah.
President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. reinstates Jerome Powell as head of the Federal Reserve. And it's like, great. Like, he had a chance to kick Jerome Powell out and get somebody new. That's not gonna be. But now it's like Jerome Powell's like, oh, I gotta fix everything. It's like, well, you fucking did it. Like, why do I want you to fix it? You're the one that started the fire.
Well, I mean, it was
Don't
the
ask
one
an
that.
arsonist to put out the fires he started. He put them.
No, well, well, if you think about it, the person who built it probably knows its weaknesses best, So I mean, he started the problem. He realized the weaknesses. Realizes he fucks up. So I mean, he might know where to fix it. That's just what I mean. He could. Probably won't because he's a government official who's just doing what lines his own pockets. But that's every government official.
Yeah, I for a while I didn't know the difference between the Secretary of the Treasury and the Director of the Fed. And so, like, when Biden became president again, I was like, oh, look, we got Janet Yellen again. Left to win in Janet Yellen. But unfortunately, it is not her.
I gotta find out how much AOC is worth.
I've seen someone look it up before. I think it may actually be negative or something. Cause she like had a lot of debt, and she, when you're like a representative, you have to pay for 2 separate apartments, right? You have to pay for one in DC, and then one in your home district. In her case, I guess. What is that? The Bronx?
I don't even remember. Oh shit, yeah. She's not worth anything. I feel like you gotta give it a couple more years. When she owes favors to people, and then people owe her favors, and then her net worth will go up significantly. If it hasn't already, and everything's just in trusts that she's the manager of.
Well, the theory is that if, she never really takes much, like, corporate PAC money and stuff like that in the first place, then there's no one for her to really owe any favors to, or that owe her favors. Right?
I mean...
Because if she can win without him, then... That's the cool thing about people like Bernie and running on these grassroots campaigns.
Yeah, that's true. No, Bernie's been in politics too long. He definitely scratched backs. He's had his back scratched. He's he owes people and people owe him 100%. He just hasn't been able to make it to the commander in chief of the United States yet.
So there are actually websites. I don't know if it's Open Secrets or who it is. It may be Open Secrets. Yeah, I think it is. And you can see people like Bernie Sanders, and who donates to them. If I remember correctly, if anything, I think a lot of it was like grassroots, and then maybe some of it was like union leaders.
Oh.
Or not union leaders,
money.
sorry. Not union leaders. The unions themselves. Which in that case, I mean, that is, you have organized labor representing you, so that's pretty fair. Right?
Yeah, I guess that's cool. All right, so I'm looking at Bernie 2016 campaign raised $228 million. Like, oh my god. And then they only spent $7 million going to him. Small individual contributions was $134 million of the funds. Holy shit!
Folks, he's owned by big University of California. University of California. He owns Bernie Sanders. What is he gonna do for them? How is he gonna get more people in California? And specifically their professors who are donating from the University of California. Isn't it strange? Why don't universities show up anywhere else? It's just for Bernie Sanders, and he's in Vermont. What's he going to do? Is California going to annex? Is California going to annex Vermont? Is that what they're doing? I don't know if I trust that man, but keep a watch out for California Bernie.
Fucking Trump. I think I don't know if he's gonna take back 2024.
I mean, it'll be a bloodbath in the primaries. My personal opinion is that, like, no matter what happens at this point, like, just with the prelude to the primaries, and then, once it actually gets into them, it's gonna kill, like, any Republican's chance at winning, right? Because it's like, it's just gonna be so gnarly, and the base is gonna be so divided that it's gonna kill, like, any momentum they have.
No, there's going to be an internal struggle between the Democrats too, because I mean, I've a lot of the people that like were pro Joe Biden are kind of like, yeah, I don't know if he's going to be really fit for office anymore.
Oh, for sure,
after all of his hijinks and stuff like that, even if his doctor tells him, yeah, he's fit for office, like dude can barely walk half the time. Not to say he isn't still walking for, like, what is he, like 86 or something?
That would be scary.
I've said it.
I think he turned 80.
I'll say it again.
Last year.
Yeah.
I'll say it again. Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. is the new, Jimmy Carter. I mean, think about it. We have hyperinflation, just like under Jimmy Carter. He's trying to stop hyperinflation and is doing it in a way that's, normal Americans are like getting squeezed by, just like Jimmy Carter. All right, he's bumbling and little, just like Jimmy Carter, right? And if that means that we have Jimmy Carter, that means the next president is going to be Ronald Reagan. And I think
Ronald DeSantis.
I think the next Ronald Reagan is going to be Ron DeSantis.
Look at him, Ronald DeSantis. He's not like Ronald Reagan though. I'd say he's closer to Ronald McDonald. Look at him. Look at his fat, greasy manhandles. He's nothing like me. I'm beautiful. Look at him. He's Italian. He's Italian McDonald. Some call him Ron McMeatball. That's what I'm going to call him.
I think I feel like he's just a little too polarizing for the moderate Republicans to vote for him.
I think he's, I think he can appeal to the moderate Republicans better than any other crazy wacko Republican.
Better than any other crazy wacko Republican.
Because at the end of the day, the moderate, what the moderate Republicans care about, and what moderates care about, no, not at all. It's what Bill Clinton ran on and won on. It's the economy, stupid.
We're here doing I don't know. We're doing
all,
kitchen table issues.
Most people care about. Kitchen table issues is the economy. That's all anyone cares about. It's the economy, stupid. Is my retirement going to be okay? Am I going to have a job tomorrow? Is my gas going to be cheap? Can I get to work? you know, that sort of stuff. It's nobody cares about the future. Nobody cares about, you know, that sort of like unless they already have pre-made up ideas. What most people that don't think about politics, that don't care about politics but still vote, the undecided voter, they care about one thing and one thing only, and that's the economy. It's what's right in front of them. Because, like it or not, most of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. Most of Americans live one day at a time.
Bernie
And so
Sanders, in
Ron,
his interview, he did like yesterday. I think he said it was like 61% of Americans, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah,
Something
and
like
Bernie
that.
Sanders, Bernie Sanders is, you know, bless his heart, he can't. As much as socialism might fix things in the long term, in the short term, it does put a little bit of squeeze on people, and people don't want to squeeze in the short term. Whereas Ron DeSantis, fascism, 100% makes everyone makes middle class Americans and lower class Americans that are, you know, the quote unquote law abiding Americans, you know, basically the white middle class and the white lower class. It makes their ships, you know, float a little bit higher. You know, when you pump the economy the way that you can do under fascism, gas is a little bit cheaper. It becomes a little bit cheaper to go. Oh, you know, Applebee's is a little bit cheaper because at the end of the day, America, you know, there's only one thing that America's built for, and that's $5 jalapeno poppers at Applebee's. Okay? And if you can't get your $5 jalapeno poppers at Applebee's, then the American experiment failed. And Ron DeSantis and fascism in general can get you $5 jalapeno poppers. And so I think that moderate Republicans will look at Florida, look at what's happening in Florida, where he kept it open during COVID. Sure, a lot of people died, but at the end of the day, he can say, "Oh well, you know, that's the price of freedom." That's the price of freedom. I kept it open. I kept people working. Nobody lost their job. You know, fewer people lost their job. You know, a lot of people died, but they didn't lose their job. They had a job until the last day that they were breathing. You know, that's because that's all people would rather die than lose their job in a lot of situations.
My favorite part about all the politicians always ends up being they always talk about jobs. How many jobs they create? How many this that? How many that happened?
Because that's all
But
anyone cares
but
about.
but the American economy is built on businesses. It's like you need businesses. Like businesses are what make money. Jobs just keep people afloat. And if you want to be rich, you got to start a business.
But nobody, no, people don't care about being rich. They care about being comfortable. Generally, people don't care about being rich. Being rich is a means to the end of being comfortable. What does um Andrew Tate sell you on? Andrew Tate doesn't sell you on being the best, being rich and stuff. Andrew Tate's real selling point, what he's selling you on is you can be more comfortable than you otherwise would. You can be more. What's more comfortable than, you know, a Honda Civic, 2003 Honda Civic or a 1997 Toyota Camry?
They are
You know
very
what's more
comfortable.
comfortable? A brand new Bugatti. That's more comfortable, even though technically it isn't because Bugattis have really hard seats. Point is, that's more comfortable. You're going to be more comfortable, you know, in this. You're going to look cooler, and being cool is comfort. You know?
I think it's more about the freedom. I mean, there's no comfort in being someone's little slave, whether that's at work, which it usually is.
There's a lot of comfort in that. There's a lot of comfort in job security. The uncomfort, the lack of comfort comes when you're worried that you're going to lose it.
Yo,
But
and that's
if you
what
live,
happens when the economy is down, which is gonna happen. There's
exactly,
never
and that's
if,
why,
if the economy keeps going up, it's manufactured. There's gonna be downturns.
exactly,
There's
and
gonna be
that's
upturns.
why Ron DeSantis will do anything he can to make sure the economy is pointed in the up direction,
But
because that ensures comfort and security for people, and people will give up anything for comfort and security. I mean, like it or not, people will give up their freedoms for comfort and security. You know, at the end of the day, you say, would you rather, if I put a gun to your head and I said, would you rather, you know, be able to say whatever you wanted, or be able to, you know, live in the same house you've been living in, have the same amount of food, you know, eat as much food as you want and that sort of stuff. You know, gun to your head, you wouldn't say this stuff. Everyone would say, yeah, I'd rather die. I'd rather die than live on my knees. You know, die standing up than live on my knees. Well, then, you know, that's not the case. when it really comes to it, that's not the case.
Well, money buys power, and people love power, and the more money you have, the more power you have. I'm not saying it's unlimited power, but I think that's what Andrew Tate says. When you have the money, you have the power, and when you have the power, you're able to do what you want, and that is the ultimate comfort. So yes.
Well, so I think there's like it's not necessarily a false dichotomy that gets set up. Well, and yeah, no, it is. In Andrew Tate, there's kind of a false dichotomy that gets set up in the idea that, it's money and power or no money, no power. When in reality, there are, like alternate ways to get there, right? And the biggest one is going to have to be like collective action or, getting together as a group. Because otherwise you'll never be able to challenge those people. And I know we kind of touched that a minute ago. But, getting together as a group of people and, challenging that and saying, fuck you, we're not going to operate, under this, fake notion where you manufacture a good economy and, you're lining your pockets at the expense of us, so on and so forth. And unless you see that, you're never going to see anything change. But I think that's the only way to
well,
move
money
things
equals
forward.
power because we live in a capitalist society. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, people use that false dichotomy because it's easier for them to imagine the end of the world than it is to imagine the end of capitalism.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we talked about this last time, but capitalism is what pushes advancement and innovation.
No,
Well,
that's not true.
I mean, look at like pharmaceutical companies,
Tetris.
right? Sure. Or pharmaceutical companies. Pharmaceutical companies have, R&D divisions, right? But if I'm not mistaken, most of the actual research is generated by like public universities and,
Yes, that is
institutions.
correct.
And then they just spend the money to buy exclusive access to it.
The actual, if you ask anyone who really dedicates their life to the research and development of medical science, if you ask most of those people, most of them, like the actual ones that are actually doing the research, not the ones that are selling it, not the lawyers, not the people that are actually in the labs synthesizing the drugs and doing that sort of stuff. Most of them do them in universities because that's where the actual work gets done. And if you ask them, why do you do this? Almost nobody's going to say, because of the money. It's never going to be because of it. There's always going to be a different driving,
Right.
factor. What's the reason why a lot of people, what's the reason why people say they want to be doctors growing up? It's not because they make a lot of money. That's a perk. They use that to justify it, because it takes so much time. But a big thing is because I want to help people.
Yeah.
Or because my mom died of cancer and I want to make sure nobody else dies of this disease.
And it's like
That's
the same
big
thing with like a lot of kids want to be firefighters. No one ever actually does that.
Yeah. People don't, the profit motive doesn't actually drive people to the way that they say it does. It doesn't actually drive people. Nobody, wants, fucking look at Andrew Tate. Why does Andrew Tate doesn't want the money just because it's money? He wants the money because power comes. He can use the money to buy power. The money is a means to an end. He's not motivated by the profit margin. He's not motivated by endless amounts of money. He's motivated by what the money gets him, which is completely different. Because you can, if you were to say, well, what if tomorrow I made a system where you had $0 in your bank account, but you were still just as powerful and you still had just as many cars. You just didn't have that number. I think you'd take that deal. You'd say, or maybe you'd say even you get even more power. You'd definitely take that deal because nobody cares about money. People care about what the money gets them. And so innovation comes from way more than just profit margin. I mean, pretty much in every business always starts with an idea. It never starts with well, I gotta make money. It starts, I came up with an idea outside of me trying to make money, and then I just am taking that idea and monetizing it, and I'm making money from the idea.
Well, another
So
thing
then what
too,
about boring businesses? So like, it's like a laundromat.
well, real quick,
Dry cleaner.
I want to add one thing to what Bobby's saying. Another thing when you're talking specifically about like, researching things, the people who are researching, at a public university or at like a private company are going to be the same people. They're working for a salary or a wage or whatever else. They probably don't get like stock options or anything like that, and they don't really get anything out of the financial success of a product. Same thing between working at a public institution or a private company in that regard. It's just the people at the top that seek to benefit from that. And at that point, why wouldn't you just cut the guy who's going to steal a bunch of fat off the top and put it back in the hands of the people who are paying for it anyways?
All right, and then to answer your question, Shaw, I mean, what about boring businesses? Well, they're boring. They're not innovative. You said, I mean, the idea was profit drives innovation. Capitalism drives innovation. If it's a boring business, it's not an innovative business. Those two are mutually exclusive.
I was going into the part where you said people start businesses for like a
No, I
drive
said people
or
people
anything,
do innovation.
Yeah.
People do innovation not for the profit. They do the innovation first, then they start the business around the innovation. Otherwise, yeah, you're right. Well, again, why do people start laundromats? I mean, sometimes they do it just because they need a job, they need a business, right? There's a lot of immigrant, laundromat stuff, but a lot of times it's because there's a need, right? Laundromats wouldn't exist if everyone had in-unit laundry. If every apartment had in-unit laundry, there would be no laundromats. So I mean, boring businesses like that they're not innovative. They're boring.
Oh, wait, what was I gonna say?
I don't know, what were you going to say?
Destroyed you in the marketplace of ideas.
Just fucking own, dude.
No, you didn't.
Facts
Just
and logic.
Marketplace of ideas. You know what? I guess you could say that. I was gonna bring up the idea of Elon Musk and how his businesses, they really do drive innovation, but it depends on what they're driving innovation
But
for.
again,
They're driving innovation for
I mean-
commercial purposes to make money off of that innovation, or is he doing it because he really likes innovation and he wants to see the world change?
Here's the thing. Who's doing the innovation? Elon Musk is not the one doing the innovation.
Oh, well, he's financing it.
Elon Musk is financing it, yeah, but he's not innovating. Elon Musk himself is not the innovator in that company. And so what Travis said was, why don't you cut the guy off at the top who's skimming all the fat and bring that down? If you got rid of Elon Musk and you kept just his money, the company would not change. In fact, I would think the company would be better. A lot of the companies would be better if he wasn't there. I think he's not a very good leader, especially in the current year. Maybe 20 years ago he was a better leader because he wasn't as full of himself. But I think as far as a lot of interviews I've heard, he thinks he's always the smartest man in the room, and I think that he like a lot of people that have that sort of power and that sort of money, he surrounds himself with sycophants and enablers and does not take no for an answer because he thinks that he is the innovator, because everyone around him says he is the innovator because he's the one who got the money.
He kind of is, because he's the one that got it off the ground. I mean,
but he didn't actually develop anything.
Well,
he didn't actually develop anything, but if he's the one that's getting it done, and he's the one that's financing it, he's the one that's making it possible.
If he's not the one who's developing it, then is he really the one who's getting it done?
Can I focus on a key word there too? Financing. He's the one who financed it. Why don't we, the people, finance these things? Why don't we have like funds and stuff like that? Technically, we are, yeah.
Because a lot of his stuff is government bonds. But I mean, so at that,
yeah.
Basically, I mean, not to be crude, but it sounds like Elon Musk, he's the one that tells people, he's the whip cracker. He's the fucking slave driver, So he's his only purpose is to crack the whip on the slaves and ensure that they, farm the fields. Like is that really an important position?
And he pays his field workers handsomely. I mean,
no, he doesn't. I've heard before
really.
That they're and take this with a grain of salt. especially being in the medium that we're having this conversation, but that there are a lot of people who work for like SpaceX who
Yeah.
end up leaving SpaceX and going to like NASA, which is typically the opposite of what you usually do. You know, usually to go from working a public job to private, just because they're like, it fucking sucks so much. And I've heard that like a lot of Tesla employees do not like what they do. You know, you don't really get treated with respect. I mean, look at like
That's the big thing. Is from the people that I know that work for SpaceX, he's a very toxic environment, like a very toxic environment.
And I mean,
and at the end of the day, you can say, I mean, here's to put it in very capitalist terminology. A lot of people will pay money to not work in a toxic environment. I mean, anytime you give up a better paying job for a worse paying job that is less toxic, you are paying money to not be in a toxic environment. And so people will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to not be in a toxic environment.
They're just not grinding hard enough.
And you can look at like the Tesla.
I mean, they literally are like, I don't want to grind. People literally don't want to grind. They're paying money to not have to grind.
Or what if you're like the world's biggest grinder, right? The world's biggest grinder. You loved waking up at 5 a.m. You take your ice bath. You know, you start punching the punching bag, and then you get to work, and then you grind the hardest. You produce the most results. Meanwhile, your boss is sitting there like, "Oh, actually, this was my idea, and I don't really like the work you're doing. It's not very good." And meanwhile, everyone else is like, "No, you're doing all the work. You know, you're doing the heavy lifting. You get fucking nothing out of it." Some asshole at the top just comes along and slaps his name on it, takes the credit, and then asks you to do more with no extra compensation, with no extra benefits. He's just fucking, like, he sees you doing work for him, and then he just rubs his ass in your face.
You're grinding for the wrong reasons then. Like, yeah, of course there's a grind. Like, yeah, you gotta get up, you gotta go to work, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, right? But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying put your effort so deep to make your boss money. I'm saying work enough to get the money you need to get off the floor, to get out of the shitty situation you're in, and get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm about getting better.
So you're saying don't grind. You're saying get comfortable. You're literally saying you should be getting comfortable. Get out of the shitty situation means get comfortable. I'm saying that somebody at Tesla or SpaceX, will give up a salary of $250,000 a year for a salary of $125,000 a year because $250,000 a year job is so awful that they would rather work for like half as much money at a different job. Like, that's what I'm saying. So, and you said, well, you're just not grinding hard enough. And then I said, well, and then when we put you on it, you said your grind should be to get out of the shitty situation. So which is it? Are you not grinding hard enough, or should you get out of the shitty situation?
Well, you're not grinding hard enough. Well, that's the whole point. You gotta grind hard.
Okay, so you should be in the shitty. You're saying you should be in the shitty situation because that is more money.
Yeah. That's what I mean. But I'm not saying you put into, like, you gotta get up every morning, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. I'm not saying do your job so hard that it makes you want to shoot yourself.
Well, no.
But it doesn't matter. You know? I mean, it's the environment. The environment itself is toxic.
The point is,
it doesn't matter. It
absolutely
doesn't matter how much
no reason
effort I put it.
Yeah.
Just simply breathing in, toxicity. It doesn't matter if you're running or you're walking. Just the act of being in that environment is bad and is toxic. So it doesn't matter how hard you grind. That doesn't change the fact that it's toxic.
And there's absolutely no reason for, like, that sort of behavior, right? Like, it's like you have to deal with an adult child stealing, credit and, just kind of taking advantage of everything you're doing. And then people, like, revere them for just being a bad human being and just having more money. Like, I mean, it's just like, it's not, I should say, just in a general sense, these aren't traits that we should encourage or look up to in society. If nothing else, that's all I think, right? It's just, it's not healthy for society, and you know, it's not. I would be embarrassed if I were like that as a person. And
But
that's,
I mean,
you
you
know.
would be embarrassed because you're poor and you're like that.
No,
He's
no,
a
no. Well,
billionaire.
even if I were him, I think I'd be embarrassed if I had that sort of behavior.
And I mean,
Well,
he did come from money, right?
He did come from money.
But
He's very rich. He grew up extremely wealthy.
and he turned that wealth into more, which is what I mean. So you get more and more and more and more.
They say
So
that
that's what you gotta
the
do.
hardest is the first million, and he started with 1 million. So the hardest part he already got.
Oh yeah, and I mean, what do you get that? You got that with PayPal once you sold to like eBay or something.
No, he got that from his parents.
Yeah, no, I mean, even I don't know if this is the case in PayPal, and I can look it up in just a second here. But I know with a lot of the companies he worked for, he would have a tendency to kind of come in either, you know, at some point in the middle of the process or late into the process, and I think typically, you know, on the premise of him providing some sort of like financial backing. And eventually, you know, other people would either be ousted or he'd, you know, try to take control of certain, you know, front-facing roles where he could present himself as being the head of the company, even if he technically wasn't. And then you know, there are a couple instances of him doing things that are kind of unscrupulous and I think actually illegal. If I remember correctly, there was one specific instance with Tesla, which, first off, Tesla, he was not a founder of the company, from my understanding. But the later founders, I think by their account, said they were driven out. But he, at some point, I think he was going to get like some sort of government credit or something like that. And in order to do that, he was going to work with, I think it was like Mercedes, which was part of a group at the time. And he went to Mercedes and they said, you have to get this government accreditation or something like that first, I think from maybe the EPA. And so he goes to the EPA, if I remember correctly. Once again, I want to be sure I'm not presenting as this or absolute fact. I think something to this effect happened. And he went to them and he said, well, hey, I have this partnership with Mercedes. And, you know, we were hoping to get this credit or partnership or whatever it is. So, you know, that way we can work together and do whatever else. And he falsely represented that he was in a partnership. And so then he gets the accreditation or whatever it may have been. And then he goes back to Mercedes and Mercedes is like, okay, cool, we can work with you now. And, you know, just activities like that where you're dishonestly setting up a situation or you're pushing people out and pushing yourself forward. I mean, taking advantage of things is really, yeah, you know, it's things that are removed from any sort of good work ethic or negotiation ability.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like this joke. There's a joke. It goes, I told my son, you will marry the girl I choose.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, no. And I told him, she is Bill Gates' daughter. And he said, okay. And I called Bill Gates and I said, I want your daughter to marry my son. And Bill Gates said, no. And I told Bill Gates, my son is the CEO of World Bank. And Bill Gates said, okay. I called the president of World Bank and asked him to make my son CEO. He said, no. I said, I told him my son is Bill Gates' son-in-law. He said, okay. This is how Elon Musk works.
Yeah, no, I've seen that meme before. That's absolutely it. Yeah. Well, hey, real quick, I need to step away to go to the bathroom. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute myself, and I'm gonna have a pretty
I
little
want you
going on.
I want you to unmute yourself, and I want you to piss very loudly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll rate your piss.
Well, I'll probably get pee anxiety, so I don't know if that'll actually happen or not.
I mean, you've been to prison, right?
Yeah, we should probably not tell the audience about that one. I don't know if it's their business.
I mean, hey, once you start telling everyone your stories about the riot and stuff like that, is when
right.
Is when we really get going.
Yeah, and you know, it's all in the past now. I've turned a new leaf and I'm a new man.
Anyways, yeah. Well, I mean, money drives innovation. While it may not be the actual innovators that it drives, it's what it drives.
But it doesn't. We just described that it doesn't drive the innovation. Because the innovation
Anyways,
comes
you guys
later.
know how we just had this conversation, and you guys just fully
Well,
disagreed
no,
with me,
the
and we
point
kind of
is-
came
Yeah,
to
and
this
then,
point.
and then
I'm
Shaw,
gonna.
and then Shaw, we just had a whole conversation where we destroyed Shaw's point, and then Shaw comes back and says, "Well, you know what? I'm gonna just repeat the same thing that we just dismantled over
Okay, I'll
like
be right
10,
back, guys.
15
Well,
minutes."
you just said that the innovators itself are the ones that are driving it, and I'm like,
Well, the innovators
yeah,
drive
maybe.
the innovation. Without the
yeah,
innovators,
that's what
there
I'm
is
saying.
no innovation.
The innovators drive the innovation. Yeah, but the innovation can't happen unless
Without
it's
the innovators.
without and the money.
Well, no, because it can absolutely happen without money.
Now, how many people have to give up on their dreams because they don't have the money?
But that's a different problem.
Well, exactly. Some people are able to do it because they have the money.
That's completely different. That's not like
So,
the
I mean,
innovation itself.
I mean, think about it, right? A lot of innovation was only able to happen because humans weren't busy doing other things. So, like, you could start building languages because, you know, you had enough food to be able to sit down and start communicating with each other. And, I mean, you could only build rifles and muskets because you had things to do, free time on your hands. You weren't chopping wood all day to build the fire. I mean,
Exactly.
you had the fire and you had
You
the
were
capabilities
yeah.
of understanding the chemical composition of the fucking dirt that you're on to be able to extract the rare earth metals and be able to build flintlock and gunpowder, and you only realize that with time.
Yeah, but people weren't
And-
like I'm gonna build this flintlock. I'm gonna build this gun. You know, I'm gonna create this language so that I can have $80 million. Like that wasn't the thing. It's like I'm gonna have so much money if I build this flintlock. No, it was like there's a different problem that they had to
There's-
solve that was completely
there's-
separate from the money, from the profit. It was, I want to more efficiently kill this prey, so I'm going to create a gun. I don't care about, you know, the money that comes of it. Like, and then after they create the gun that solves the problem, then they can go and sit and say, oh, other people would also like this. Now let's figure out how we can do that. So the profit came second. I mean, you look at most of the shit on Shark Tank, right? Let's use Shark Tank, because Shark Tank is a great example of American innovation.
Yeah.
Most of the crap on Shark Tank is like, there's a product that the people that are coming on the Shark Tank had a product first. They designed this product that solved this problem in their life, and then they created a company around it. And so they weren't driven like, this is like most of them, you know, before they came on the show, they weren't like, oh, when they were creating the product, they weren't thinking like, oh, I'm doing this just to make the money. I'm doing this to make money. No, they were doing this like, oh, you know, I'm doing this so that I can, you know, reach my shit on top of my car easier, or so that I can get people out of cars easier because you know, it's a safety device or something. You know, they were trying to solve a problem and they designed this product. They invented this invention. They innovated. And then later on, they were like, oh, let's make money off of it. If there was no money, if capitalism did not exist, and they were in a situation where they did not have any money to gain, there was no money to gain, they still would have invented the invention in the same way.
So, no, but here's my thing, right? So yeah, they can fix the issue. So a lot of these dumb things on Shark Tank, right? Like I'm looking up a couple of these right now. Funk Off, teeth cleaner for wine and coffee stains. Sure. So let's say you spill things a lot, and you made this thing where you're like, oh, now it's going to be easier to clean up my wine and coffee stains. Great. Yeah. If there was no monetary thing to push it out into society, why would he even do that? He solved this problem. We're good to go.
Because he had the problem himself, so he needed to fix it.
Yeah. Also, now he fixed his problem.
Yeah, and
that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then if there was no capitalism, he could say, okay, now everyone, like, look at free and open source software is a perfect example. Perfect example is this concept called free and open source software.
Yeah.
So most free and open source software is, you know, it's to solve a problem, right? There's a lot of tools, and this is what Linux was built on. It's to solve a problem. You have a tool that solves a problem. I do this. I have a tool. I've built a bunch of apps that solve problems. One of my apps, the one that's I think the most useful, is on Wear OS. There is there is no tip calculator that comes with a Wear OS watch. There's actually no calculator at all. So I developed a very simple tip calculator. And
I said pip for a second.
no, tip. Like you're at a restaurant.
You're at a restaurant. Yeah,
You're at a restaurant.
Underpaid.
You want to calculate the tip. So I created a tip calculator. And I created this free and open source tip calculator. It's on my, it's online. And I push it out there. I push it out to online, and I don't expect to make money off of it. I'm not looking to make money off of it. I never wanted to make money off of it. I just have a tool that if there's a problem that I had, I wanted a tip calculator, and there was no tip calculator readily available, so I created one and pushed it out into the ethos. And that's where a lot of open source, free and open source software comes out there. You say, oh, I need to do X, Y, or Z on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't natively do that because, I mean, at the end of the day, most people agree that computers with fewer bloatware is the better. But you need your computer to do something, so you need software for it. Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to look up and say, is there already software that is available? And can I download it for free? And if so, then boom, there you go. And a lot of that software was because somebody else was in the exact same location that you're in, had the exact same problem that you're in, and they also wanted, but they were there first. They got to that problem first, so they designed it, and then they pushed it onto the internet, and now it's free. And so there's no profit motive because it doesn't exist, because it's free and open source.
And now you got to think about it. So that's a small example. Now let's think bigger.
Small, I mean, it's huge. I mean, there's so much free and open source, there's so much freeware on the internet.
Yeah. I'm not saying that, but that's small. That's the small type stuff. Now let's talk big stuff. Let's talk actual things. Let's say I'm the president of the United States, and I want a brand new fighter jet that can do everything a stealth bomber can do, and everything the fighter jet can do, and it can, float on water. And I want that. What's gonna build that? Not fucking Joe Schmo who's creating a tip calculator on the bloatware. It's gonna be the guy who's got the degrees and the knowledge and the this and that and the next. And the guy's not gonna do that for free. But I want this fighter jet. I want this thing that does it all. That problem can't be solved with, my own intuition. That takes years of research and many brilliant minds on it. And that costs something. That costs money. And if I didn't have the money to make that happen because I wanted it, it wouldn't have been done.
Well, I mean, I guess the question is, how big of a problem is it, right? Like, why do you need it? If it was really that big of an issue, you would have designed it yourself.
Exactly. And that's what I mean. Big problems require large solutions. And those large solutions require a lot of goddamn money.
But if it's a big problem, then a lot of people would have that problem. If it's a big problem that fighter jet doesn't exist, then surely the guy who has the degree would also have that problem. And he would also need the fighter jet. Like, let's look at other big infrastructure. Let's look at bridges, like big, long, large bridges.
Oh, yeah.
Big, long, large bridges, right? You need to get from one spot to another, like the Brooklyn Bridge, right? You want to get from Brooklyn to Manhattan. Well, there's a lot of smart people in both boroughs. Surely both boroughs would have enough engineers without profit motive that they'd say, you know what, fuck it, let's build a bridge. And that bridge would still be invented, regardless of money. Because there's a problem that enough people with enough smarts have.
And now, great, right? So now they built the bridge. Now guess what? Oh, they decided, well, we built this bridge, and we did all that, and now we're running out of money. And
there is no money. I'm saying there is no money.
We should build more bridges, and guess what? We should charge them to use it.
I'm saying there is no money.
Everyone loves this bridge so much. Great. Now we could create more of them, and now we could charge them money for them.
Whoa. Stop saying they're charging the money. There is no money. I'm saying there's no money here. It's just the need to solve the problem.
Like, oh, now we've solved this problem. We can make the problem bigger.
We can go on to a different problem because that problem has already been fixed.
And now we can make the bridge better and make it seem like it costs so much more money. And now we could then start charging them.
but it doesn't
And
cost anything.
the governor can create a problem saying, "Oh, well, the bridges have this and that next, and we should create another
But
bridge.
the governor
We should make
can't
another
create anything, 'cause
bridge."
The governor doesn't have the power to create.
And now
it.
he
It's
created the
governor.
problem of needing another bridge, but the real problem was the deficit in the
But
budget.
there
And now
is
he
no deficit.
now he creates that bridge
There's no deficit because there's no
with
money.
borrowed money, and
But
now
there
he
is
has
no
that
money. So
he has that
it doesn't
bridge
exist.
running 24/7, charging money to people.
But that doesn't. They don't charge them. There are no toll booths. Toll booths don't exist in this hypothetical because there is no money.
Why would someone want a bridge? Why would someone want a
Because
bridge?
they want to get. They're on one spot and they want to get to another spot that either is divided, and there's either water or a large trench in between them.
So let's say this, right? Let's say Manhattan, right? Let's say
Okay.
Manhattan's there, right? It's surrounded by water
Okay.
on both sides, all three
Okay.
sides actually, and the only side that's not connected by water is north. Or
Actually, there is
west.
water. There's the Harlem
Some shit
River,
like
but
that.
yeah, it's
Whatever.
an island. It's fully an island.
It's an island, right?
So it's
Let's say you were
it's surrounded by water on all four sides. All right.
you were born in Manhattan, right?
Okay.
Your entire family's in Manhattan,
Okay.
right? Let's say the people in
Okay.
Manhattan were only in Manhattan.
Okay.
What would the need be for a bridge if everything's available in Manhattan?
Because they want to explore. Because human beings have innate.
No, let's say exploring is out of the question. They don't want
No,
to
but
explore.
that isn't. That's like saying, you know, well, what if we don't need to eat then?
That's beyond needing to eat something is an instinctual, but wanting to
Yes.
explore is something
It's
people.
also
There
instinctual.
have
It's
been
literally
explorers. There have been
it's
explorers.
But Shah, this is actually anthropologists have discovered that the reason that human beings are the dominant species on Earth and not Neanderthals is because unlike Neanderthals, human beings had an innate, similar to like the need for food,
Wow.
had an innate need to explore. That was like actually like built in as part of us. So Neanderthals did not explore as much.
You see-
They especially
that's,
did not.
That's a crock of shit,
That's
right?
not.
If you
Let's
were
look it up.
born,
That's
if you
literally
were
not.
born in Manhattan and you've lived in Manhattan your entire life, let's say this is before anything, before bridges, before technology, yada
Manhattan.
yada. The only reason you'd want to build a bridge to get to that side is because there's something over there that can make you money. If you think
No.
about it, right? So across that bridge is a fig tree, and I know if I could get to those figs, I could have all these figs, and I
Well,
could feed
figs are
all
not
these
money.
people, and I could get all this money. Well,
Figs
that's
are
the
not
point. It's a
money. There's
means.
no
It's a
money.
means to making money, right?
There's no money.
It's a means to making
All
money.
right, here we go. From NASA. From NASA.gov, the human desire for exploration leads to discovery. Throughout history, humankind has shared an innate trait, the desire to explore. Prehistoric men and women have stood curiously at the opening of caves and wondered what was over the next hill. Centuries later, a teenager in New England envisioned a trip to a distant planet. But yeah, so humans do have an innate. Do we have an innate need to grow, explore? Yes.
You got to look at the source. You're looking at NASA.gov.
NASA, yeah.
That is a
pretty good
biased
source.
source, sir.
They're
That's
pushing.
a biased source.
They're
Their
pushing
mission
that
statement is explore.
garbage
They get
to
money
get
from
more-
exploration.
They're
They get
pushing
more
that
money from
junk.
exploring.
They're part of
Exactly,
big
they get more money.
exploration.
The only reason they're exploring the outer space is to be able to grab meteors and the precious metals and bring it back to us. They want control over the precious metals. I mean, have you not seen Don't Look Up? The only reason they were in the space and doing all that was so they could mine the meteor for all the precious metals, like the gold and the silver and the plutonium.
I like how that's the message you got out of that movie.
Yeah, is that we need money. I mean, Shaw truly is the shining example. So Travis, and you can watch this back.
Well, I was listening.
You were listening to the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Shaw truly is the shining example of. It is easier for someone to imagine the end of the world than it is for them to imagine the end of capitalism. Like, Shaw literally cannot comprehend a world without money. Every time I say something, it's like, well, then there's money, but then you do the money. It's like, but there is no money.
Okay, let's do a thought experiment real quick, Shaw.
Go ahead.
So you're in your house, all right, and you have what? You have one brother and two parents, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're in your house, and let's say your brother's car breaks down, and he comes to you first, and he says, "I need you to help me." What do you do? How do you answer that phone call?
Well, that's my brother. So I'll be over there and I'll be like, hey, oh, you need help. You're my
Okay.
brother. I'll go and help you.
And you're not gonna say, what are you gonna pay me? How are you gonna make this worth my time?
Well, no, because that's my brother. That's someone I came out of the same womb. So I'm
Okay.
not gonna go and charge him money. But some other fuck, yeah, I'll go and charge that guy money anyway.
And would you do that with your parents too if they asked for your help?
Yeah, I'd help them. Yeah.
Because they have more resources than you, right? So you'd still do it for free?
Well, yes, but in this specific context, yes, that's a family member.
So Shah, you have successfully answered. In philosophy, there's two major things. There's us, there's me versus we, and us versus them. And so Shah, you have said that you're willing to have a we. You're willing to sacrifice your time and your resources to help out others that are close to you. You said you'd help out your brother, and you'd help out your father. So there is an us. But you said that you wouldn't help out some random schmuck on the side of the road. So that means that there's a them. So the question is, how do you define the them? Why do you want to live in a society where it's us versus them? Why not, in that situation, murder every single other person that isn't part of your clan?
Well, because other people provide you things that you can't provide yourself.
Your clan, so they don't matter in your world. If you're not willing to spend your time helping somebody on the side of the road, you should execute them in cold blood.
You know,
if I see someone on the side of the road and they have like their thumb out, they're looking for help, I just veer the car over real quick and then I get back.
Right.
I can't even
say, us versus them, buddy.
I don't even take the time to like. I don't want to expend any resources on this. I don't want to, I don't even want to stop and think about it. It's just I want it to be the most meaningless interaction in my day.
Just slam into him. High 80 miles an hour, just clip him. And then you know what I do,
going.
Travis? Travis, you know what I do?
What?
I pull over, I stop, I figure out who that person is, and then I send their family a bill for all the damage that happened to my car from me slamming into them. Alright, that's what I do, alright? That's how you really show them. And then if they're like, well, we're not gonna pay the bill and also your family.
I'd bill the cops to be on my property. Whatever
bill the cops, yep. Do you think that the United States is not great right now?
I think the United States is wonderful.
But do you think it's great?
I think it's
like,
great.
If you were to say it's great, awesome. Or you'd have to say we need to make it great again. Which of the two would you prefer?
I think it's always been great. I don't think there's been a time it's ever not been great. But I think there are ways it could be better. Nothing's ever perfect. I'll be the first one to tell you that. Except freedom. Freedom is perfect. And not every freedom is perfect, but freedom in itself is perfect.
So what freedom is not perfect?
You'd have to get back to me on that. I'd have to come up with a solid argument. But
it sounded like you had one. It sounded like you were ready to go. I was just asking you a question that I thought you had an answer for.
Oh no, I just say stuff. Freedom is great, and America affords that freedom. So today I was watching a documentary, and this guy, I think he's a guy from like Australia or something, New South Wales, and he was going off about his tirade and issues he had with this guy named John Ballestine or something. I don't even know his last name. John Ballister. He's a big politician in the government, and he had a big defamation case going on against him because of him calling him like an asshole, an idiot, a this and a that. And that doesn't fall under free speech. And because the Australians don't have a right to free speech. So him saying that can get him in hot water because of his freedom of speech.
Yeah.
His non-freedom of speech. He doesn't have that. That's why it could get him in hot water. And I think about, wow, in America, I could call whoever I want what I want, as long as it's not destroying their reputation.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's not
Even
truly
if I have a
speech.
huge platform.
But
Well, I
that's
think
not-
technically you can still say something that affects your reputation that's false as long as you just didn't know it was false.
Well, I'd say technically, you can say something that is false that destroys the reputation. You can commit libel or slander.
Mm-hmm.
You can. I mean, people do.
You can, but we have the
I mean,
freedom to
people,
say.
you'll get arrested for it and sued. You'll have to pay
Well,
money,
I don't
but
think they can do arrests for that.
And I mean, freedom
Well,
of
they can.
speech.
but I mean,
freedom
at the
of
end
press.
of the day, you can do that. You have the freedom. It is physically capable for you to commit that crime.
Another example was, so like they had this ongoing feud with the politician, and one of the workers was just walking on a normal day, going about his business, and he saw this certain politician on a public road. He pulled out his phone, started recording, and guess what? A day later, the police came and they arrested him on stalking charges.
It's pretty crazy.
In America, we have the freedom of press, where if it's a public area, you can pull out his phone, record all you want. It's legal. And especially in that situation, he was the employee of a large, relatively large personality that's a media outlet that does journalism. So realistic, if you think about it, as soon as that came, this, that, the next, getting him arrested would be very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. But in New South Wales, it just happened because they don't have that freedom. They don't have it. No freedom is not good.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, it is pretty crazy about, like, how special our right to speech is here. Now, of course, that doesn't mean freedom of consequence from said speech.
Of course.
But, I mean, just thinking about other places in the world where you don't have anything that really parallels this is pretty crazy to think about. And something we just take for granted,
I was watching a little film earlier today. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Mario Puzo's The Godfather.
The Super Mario movie.
The Godfather Part 2, yeah. Okay.
The Godfather Part 2. And in
I've only
this
seen
film,
Part 1.
in this film, this guy does all these crimes. This guy is a mobster in America. He's a mafioso, as you might say.
Mm-hmm.
And he's able to do that. He has the freedom to do that because he silences anyone that tries to speak up against him, generally by ending their life. So I think that that's great. That in America we have people have the freedom to, do organized crime.
Yeah,
Well,
it
yeah,
really gave Italians and the Irish a chance to improve their class conditions. People don't talk about that enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, understood.
I completely agree. I mean, they came to this country as immigrants. They took the tools that they had and they banded together, and they created organizations that led them to economically lift themselves up in a world that was new to them. And realistically, that's the American dream. Now, whether they did that in, not the best ways, a couple people got hurt, a couple buildings got burnt down.
Hey, I mean, no harm and no foul. You know what I'm saying? People got hurt.
No harm, no foul. Think about it. And if it's the corporations that are getting screwed over, by all means, you know what I mean.
Well, I
and
think
hey,
the mafias were kind of like a corporate entity in their own right, in a sense.
Yes, they were, except their mission was to make themselves rich, and not the corporations rich. And when they made themselves rich, it showed in their community. I mean, like.
Well, the corporation doesn't care about getting rich. The shareholders care about getting rich. So the corporation's job is to make the shareholders rich. You ever think about that?
I mean, well, then the mafiosos were the shareholders, and they were the ones doing the work.
Yeah.
They were the ones making themselves rich. And when they made themselves rich, it would show in their communities, because now their communities would have people in their own right have money, so that would help the local businesses. We got a mom and pop bread shop, right? The mafioso likes his bread hot and fresh. He's willing to pay whatever money it takes to get that bread hot and fresh. Now, guess what? That local bread shop's making a lot of money. because the mafioso has the money to spend on the hot and fresh bread.
Well, I don't necessarily think that's. I don't think the mafioso is spending any money on the bread shop. I think.
You
what
think
happens-
he's stealing the bread from
No,
the bread
I think
shop?
he goes to the bread shop owner and he says, "Hey, I want a hot fresh loaf, or I'll fucking beat the shit out of you until you die, all right? And then also you have to give me 20% of your profits, or I'll beat the shit out of you until you're dead." You know, that sort of thing.
Well, that's the wrong type of mafioso. That's extortion. I'm talking
Well, I mean,
about
that's
like.
kind of how mafiosos make their money.
I'm talking about the Henry Hill mafiosos, the ones that made it off drugs, and the ones that made it off stealing from people. You know, because he loves stealing, like
Yeah, so
Lufthansa.
extortion.
Well, not so much extortion, but I mean like the Lufthansa
But like
heist.
extortion.
Well, extortion of companies, not extortion of large corporations, not small businesses. Well, they extorted that tiki club guy. They kind of extorted him by running up his business credit and then burning the place down.
What is this tiki club?
You remember the tiki club?
No.
The place that they burned down middle of the movie before he went on the date with the,
Oh,
with the
I've only
Jewish
seen
broad
part one.
and the.
Was this
No,
part
no,
two?
I'm talking about Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
I haven't
We're
seen
talking
that one.
about
Yeah.
The Godfather.
Oh no, I haven't seen any of the Godfathers. Too slow.
Too slow. Oh my god. The Godfather is such a great movie. It's The Godfather.
Godfather
My brain's-
part 1 was pretty good. I mean,
Part one is amazing.
I mean, to be fair, I think it's like 3 hours, but it was between that and my friend wanted to watch like Casino, and Casino was like 4 hours. I mean, that's just how it was back then. So ultimately, we settled on The Godfather Part 1. Although there's still another 2 parts we have yet to watch.
And then you were clapping cheeks by 40 minutes into the movie
Dude,
anyway.
I'm just saying that
Just saying.
The Godfather is an amazing movie. Just a wonderful movie.
I
It is-
don't doubt it.
it was
It's
pretty
just
good.
that my little fickle brain has lost its attention span due to the short form content that's been being
Jeez, yeah,
peddled by all
you
these
just,
major
you know.
corporations.
TikTok.
Um,
They're just trying to make money though.
Which I just uploaded as
Yeah.
a clip, as a little short. Unfortunately, this one hasn't even had, like, usually you get like within the first 15 minutes to an hour, there's like 300-400 views that just pop in. That one's sitting at 3 views, and I don't know if YouTube thinks they don't like what we're doing. They're thinking that maybe we're subverting the
We're
game
too
a bit too
based.
much.
We're too based and red-pilled.
Yeah, or two. That's why they're not giving us a platform. And I mean, we just don't have enough money or the connections or the little people to peddle it and keep reposting us on new accounts,
With the
so that
little
we
people.
keep getting more and more views. Yeah, the people that signed up to, like, maybe if we made a Yolo Braintrust University, and then the whole point was to take these interviews and clip them and then post them and then add some motivational music and some subtitles on them, where I talk about how short form content sucks and they should watch our podcast.
I wonder if we have the resources to make that work.
Listen.
you-
All I'll say is that if we do that, I'm 100% only doing it for the money. Fuck everything I said earlier in this podcast. I'm only doing it for the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'd be the capital owners there. Now, you know,
Yeah.
we'd own the properties and everything. We just kind of license it out, you know. And then once we get
Right.
big, we just copyright claim everyone, get it taken down. It's our copyright. It's our media. What are you gonna do about
Listen,
it?
you want to hear my grind? You want to hear my grind?
Hmm.
Here's my grind. So, there's a thing now that's a 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
All right. But what about, so you have a 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5?
Wait. What is this? This isn't like the thing I was talking about, is it?
Yeah, this is.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Give me a second. Let me get to a soft spot. Because I just finished up a quest here, and we can do the round table on it. Dude, I'm looking at my monitor, my side monitor, and all I can think about is that guy who commented and said I look like Mr. Beast.
Who said you look like
I
Mr.
dead
Beast?
ass, to be honest, that clip, I dead ass thought that was not you, that looked like a shitty version of you.
Did you guys see what I did there? I
You're
tried to do the.
You're your own
Hey,
shitty
Mr. Beast
knockoff.
thing, yeah. The fake Mr. Beast guy, yeah, I see that, yeah.
I'm gonna start busking in Dallas. Except what I'm gonna do is instead of like busking, I'm just gonna go up to like 5-year-olds and and then like have their parents say, "Oh, mommy, can you pay this guy $1? He said he'll do it again," and I'll just keep doing it again. Anyways, so let me get to a very scenic location, and then we can.
You're
do our
literally
round
in a
table.
fucking shrine, you piece of shit.
Well, hold on. You'll understand what I'm doing in a second here.
Maybe you should play a cooler game, like one with like guns
Yeah.
and alcohol and drugs and car
Or
crashes.
American Truck Simulator.
Well, part of the thought process, this one's easy to it's easy to play in the background. It's not
easy?
disruptive.
It's easy. I'm fucking beat it. It's very difficult. All right.
Well, no, it's easy to play. It's like, there's not a lot of dialogue and stuff like that.
We should just play American Truck Simulator, and
Dude,
we should all just convoy the entire time.
We could do a stream of just that. Hold on here. I'm getting it set up for our
Three
master
truckers
class.
convoying. 3 truckers just convoying. We're just convoying it. We're just convoying, and we're talking, and we're podcasting, and we're convoying. That's easy to follow.
'Cause I'm proud to be a trucker man, where at least I know I'm free.
Those guys are the freest. They commit the most crimes
Look at this dude.
when they're driving.
Look at this dude. What's he
Those
doing?
lines,
What's the
those
seagull
lines
doing?
on the road
To
mean
quote
nothing.
to quote Jeremy Clarkson, it is very difficult to be a truck driver. You know, change gear, change gear, change gear, check your mirrors, kill a prostitute, change gears, kill, murder a prostitute, change gears, check mirrors, murder a prostitute, murder, change gears. Very difficult.
All right, if you guys are willing to be patient with me, I have food that's shown up in about.
I mean,
30
I've
seconds.
had to be patient with you all night, you guys.
Yeah. Well, let me bring that food inside, and then we'll do the round table here. So that way, I don't have to get up in the middle of it.
Hold up, what the fuck was the round table again?
Did you create your Sigma mail? Your
I
grind set?
didn't.
quote?
I didn't.
Well,
I
you're
didn't.
you're the most Sigma out of all of us, so you'll be able to do it on the fly.
No, I can't.
Yeah, you can.
Let's see if Chat GPT can make something up real quick. I don't know if it goes back that back up in the internet actually.
Well, it goes to 2021. That's when the stuff initially popped off. So assuming it's like December 31st, 2021, you should be good.
Let's see if it can make it. Grind set quote. Oh, I have a great one. Yeah, this is great.
It's gonna be good? Okay, good.
Bro,
Yeah, it's amazing.
I just found this new subreddit. So my favorite thing right now are those AI voice, like the deepfake things, where they take like
Yeah.
celebrities and they make them say silly, goofy things. Well, I found a subreddit for it. It's called r/11 labs.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty sick.
Oh, okay, good. It just got here, so I'll be right back.
All right, this is gonna be good. This is gonna be even better. Oh, this is gonna be the quiet part. That is gonna be like, what's going on? Why is no one talking? But then you gotta realize like the whole point of a podcast is just keep talking. That's the issue. That's the issue we're facing right now. I'm sitting here trying to find good Sigma Mill content. I think I got it. I got it. Uh-oh. Is he back? Travis?
We out here.
So
Hold up.
we're making. All right. I'm getting ready for the round table. I got mine ready.
All right, as they say, let's rock and roll. Just kidding.
All right.
Hold on, I gotta get the.
Oh my God! Hold
Get
on.
the
Let's
shop
rock
set
and
up
roll.
here.
Hold on. Story of fucking.
gotta-
and then
he's-
I gotta get going, man. After this, we gotta end the pod.
He's got to get there. Yeah, I'm tired, man.
Okay,
Oh man.
so you want to do this Bobby, Shaw, and then I.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So let me know when you want me to start this talk.
I'm
We're
waiting, alright.
officially ready to rock and roll.
All right. So listen, so you got your 9 to 5, right? People grind when they're 9 to 5. All right, you got to be grinding. My advice, get at least 3 9 to 5s. All right? You work them all, all meetings all day, right? If you have an hour of downtime between your meetings, you can get another 9 to 5, all right? 3 9 to 5s. Then that's your 9 to 5 grind, all right? All right, but people are waking up before that. You got to be the first one to wake up. Early bird catches the worm, and these days the bird is getting earlier and earlier, right? People are already doing a 5 to 9 before their 9 to 5, right? So it's too late to start doing a 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5. It's too late if you haven't already done that. You need to be doing a 1 to 5 before your 5 to 9, before your 9 to 5. All right? You need to be getting up at 1 a.m. every morning, being the first one in line for. Don't go to the Starbucks. You don't want to go Starbucks every day or you won't get a house. All right? You want to be the first one in line for the library because that's free knowledge, right? Those are free books. All right? So go to the library and wait at 1 a.m., all right? So you can get your knowledge on, all right? That's 4 hours of knowledge before everyone else is even awake. And that's what I say. That's what I say for, for my hustle set.
You see, and I hear that, and that embodies the traits of a Sigma male. And a lot of people ask me what the grind set is. And what I have to tell them is the Sigma male grind set is not one that can be easily defined or summarized in a few words. It's complex. It's multifaceted. It embodies traits that men just are lacking nowadays. It's independence, self-reliance, self-motivation. I mean, it's a relentless drive to achieve personal success. And I mean, at its core, the Sigma male grind set is driven by an internal desire for self-improvement. I mean, like you said, you want to go to the 1 to 5 for the library, the books, the knowledge. That's a deep-seated need to constantly push beyond oneself's limits. I mean, think about it. You have a 1 to 5, a 5 to 9, and a 9 to 5, but that 9 to 5 is filled with more 9 to 5s. That's self-improvement. And if you're a Sigma male, you're not content with the mediocrity or complacency. You strive to excel in all areas of your life, and you're constantly looking for ways to challenge yourself and grow. And a lot of people like to compare it to an alpha male, and that's completely different. The alpha male is going to seek external validation. He's going to be the one that's buys the new Camaro. He's going to be the one that buys the new Rolls Royce. He's going to be the one that says, look at me, look at me, look at me, I'm winning. He thrives on competition and dominance. But the Sigma male, the one that's grinding, focused on your own personal journey. You're less concerned with what others think about you. You value solitude and independence. You like being a lone wolf. And you realize that the importance of collaboration is necessary. But you also realize the importance of the solitude can give you return in ways none of that collaboration can. A Sigma male won't be swayed by the social norms or expectations. You're guided by your own values and beliefs. You're unafraid to challenge the status quo. That's why you do the 1 to 5. You do not seek the approval of others, and nor do you feel to conform to society's expectations. Fuck them. You're you. You're a successful man, whether anyone likes it or not. The grind to be a Sigma male is not a means to an end. It's a way of life. You're constantly going to seek out the new challenges and push yourself to achieve more. And not for the others, but for yourself. Now that's what the grind set is about. It's unique. It's powerful. It's independent. It's self-reliant. You have a relentless drive for personal growth and achievement. And it's going to be a way of life that's not for everyone. But for those who embrace it, the rewards are life-changing.
That reads like when you do like a BuzzFeed quiz, like a personality quiz, and at the end is like, what kind of male are you? And it's like a Sigma male is reliable. Interpersonal. Alright.
I went off on that entire tirade, and he's gonna make fun of me. I'm given knowledge, the wealth of knowledge. This is what you get when you go to your 1 to 5.
This is what you get. You're the first in line at the light.
This is why you have to get rid of all
And
the
the-
beta males in your life. Always trying to tell
You have to get rid of all the beta males.
Listen, you're on the highway. You're on the highway. And you know
You're
who's
going
broken down on the
85
side
miles
of the
an
road?
hour.
You know who's broken down on the side of the road? Fucking beta males. Alright? And are the beta males your brother? No.
All right,
They're them.
Let's.
They're not us.
That's all we're gonna say. They're part of them, not us.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
all right.
yo! You said it, not me.
Okay. I'm getting the mojo in. No one knows what it means to be. Hold on. I'm trying to do like a Jocko Willink, like Joe Rogan guest. No one knows what it. No one knows what
You
it
don't
means
have
to
the
be.
voice for that.
Come on. No one knows what it means to be a man anymore. But men, that's easy. It's actually an acronym. It stands for masculine, extraordinary, nocturnal. A real man wakes up every night. I'm starting from the top. No one knows what it means to be a man anymore. Guys, no one knows what it means to be a man anymore. But men, that's easy. It's actually an acronym. It stands for masculine, extraordinary, most of all, nocturnal. A real man wakes up every night at 2 a.m. Why? Because that's before even the Navy SEALs wake up. You go outside. I scream at my neighbors to say, wake the fuck up. They call the police. Fine. I know how to handle them. 3 minutes later, I'm in a fist fight with an obese beta blue boy who's trying to pepper spray me. I dodge it. I've been training for this moment my whole life. And that's what it means to be a Sigma male.
Hell yeah,
Based.
brother. Hell
Alright,
yeah,
well,
brother.
thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
The Yolo Braintrust.
Yolo Braintrust, man.
If you're watching this, why?
Yeah,
Also leave a
we
comment.
feel really bad for you if you're watching this.
This is actually, I think this has been the tightest one so far, and it's only going to get
It
better from
definitely
here.
has
This was good content.
Alright, well, I gotta go get pegged, so have a nice night.
All right, wait,
Yeah.
hold on.
Well-
I got to give you guys the credits you deserve. So thanks again, everyone, for watching the show tonight. I just want to say shout out to Bobby,
Woo! He already
and
left.
shout out to Sigma. I almost said Sigma Shaw.
Yeah.
All right, everyone,
Just
I'm
don't
gonna try
call me
something.
Just don't call me a smegma mill.
That's right. Okay, and now I'm gonna play us out in a way I haven't done before. All right, so everyone, have a great night.
Okay, I'm head bopping. For people that don't know, I'm head bopping. Okay.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna. This is kind of an awkward play out. Everyone, have a great night.